Hi, I'm Scott Willison with the Confluence Fly Shop, and we are going to tie a coho fly that I like to fish on the Skagit River a lot. This one is called the Twitch Magnet. It is a fly that works very well for coho salmon, October all the way through the end of the year. It's fairly heavy. It's designed to be fished on a floating or intermediate line, and you get a lot of movement out of it when you bring it back in kind of herky-jerky retrieves. I'm starting out with a size 2 Gamakatsu B10S in the vise. And I've just started my thread, which is 140 Denier Purple Ultra thread. We're going to go ahead and put a pair of large nickel-plated lead eyes on here. I'm just figure 8 wrapping those into place. We're going to go around the base several times. Really lock these down. You don't want them to spin on you. And then just for a little added security, we'll go ahead and put some brush on Zap-A-Gap in there. And then we're going to kind of do a step backwards here. I like to go ahead and do my sort of egg head to begin with. And for that, we're going to use a pearl fluorescent green speckled chenille. Just cut ourselves a good length of that. Tie that in by the exposed core. And then I'm going to go around over the top one way. We'll do one loop over the back and do 2 wraps going the other direction. Pull that really tight. And snip that off. And when we get to the end of this fly, I like to finish behind that egg head. It's a lot easier than tying down the bulky chenille in front of the eyes and potentially crowding the eye of the hook. So we'll take our thread back to the rear of the hook. And then for our tail, I'm going to use a piece of hairline two-tone rabbit. This is the baby blue and purple, which are great coho colors. We'll go ahead and tie that in place, and then snip off that little bit of extra we don't need. Now we're going to bling this fly up with some flash. I'm going to use 2 types of flash here. I'm going to start with this is Grape Flashabou. It's a mix of pink and purple, blue. It's got some silver in it. This is Flashabou color number 6919. And we're just going to put a fair amount of this going down the sides of the tail. And I like this flash to be equal to or even just a little bit longer than my tail. So I've tied it in on one side of the hook. And I'm noticing I got a few other random materials that came out of my tying bag. I'm just going to kind of spin that around to the other side of the hook, and we'll lash that down. Once I've got it in place, any of the long fibers I can trim off, and you've just got kind of an explosion of flash back there. For our secondary flash, we are going to use just some opalescent lateral scale. gather up. Let's say I got about 10 strands of it here. And we'll tie that in the same way. And I do this just a hair longer than the Grape Flashabou. Just kind of lashing that in on the near side of the hook. Bend it over the top of the shank. And then down the other side. Once we've got that set in place, and trim that up, and we got all kinds of fun flash in there. For my body, I am going to use UV Polar Chenille in Silver UV. We'll go ahead and tie that in. Sometimes the flash can get kind of staticky. If it's giving you a hard time, some water or some saliva will kind of tame that back out of your way. But once I get the body wrapped, we should be fine. So. And I'm just going to kind of gently sweep this back with one hand as I go, so I'm not trapping any of these fibers. And there's her body. For the collar, we are going to use some fluorescent blue blood quill Marabou. And notice I've already stripped all the real fluffy stuff that I'm not going to need away from the base. And we're just going to tie this in by the tip. I'll go ahead and pre-trim that, so I've got a neat little point to tie it in by. And then just like I did with the Polar Chenille, I'm going to kind of train these fibers back as I go. And I'm looking for no more than 3 to 4 wraps of this Marabou. And we're good to go there. We're going to add some more bling with some rubber legs. And I've got these nice Chartreuse black barred Grizzly Flutter legs that we're going to use for that. So I am going to pull 3 of them off the skirt. And we'll do 3 per side. And I want these to go maybe halfway back into the tail. So I've got my 3 on my side. We'll just take what we trimmed, kind of measure that up against the other ones. And then we'll do 3 on the far side of the hook. Make sure we've got those secured in place. And we're going to finish with a Schlappen collar. So I have a UV purple Schlappen feather from Nature Spirit. I'm going to snip this kind of right about the part where the fluffy stuff transitions into the less fluffy fibers. And then we'll strip away a few just so we have a clean stem to tie in. So I'm tying that in by the base of the feather. And then we're just going to sweep that back as we wrap forward. There we go. We'll tie that down, and just to make it extra durable, I'm just going to fold that Schlappen tip back and take a few wraps. We'll trim that out, and then to finish my fly, we'll go back to our Zap-A-Gap here, and just going to put a small amount on the thread, take a few wraps, and then we can whip finish. And there we have it, a Twitch magnet, fabulous coho fly. I tie this in blues and purple, shades of pink, sometimes chartreuse or black and chartreuse. It's a fly that'll work all season long, particularly when you got some off-color water that you're working with. Fish this on a floating or intermediate line. Use a 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon leader and make it work its magic. Certainly good to find some coho, even occasionally some chum salmon near you. Thanks for watching. You can find the materials for this fly and many others at the Confluence Fly Shop in Bellingham, Washington. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.